take you, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take you through the purchase agreement, all the different sections, and that way you know what you're signing when you get these via DocuSign. So the top section is just going to be the seller's agent's information and the buyer's agent's information. Section 1 is going to be your property details, what county it's in, what city, township, or village, the legal description, and what it's commonly known as, so 123 West Main Street. The tax parcel ID will be put in here. The legal description and tax parcel ID is how title will pull up the property for their portion of the work. Section 1A of the offer is saying that the property and purchase shall include all mineral rights, fixtures, improvements, or anything else attached to the property. So landscaping, any built-in appliances, doors, mirrors, window treatments, things like that are all going to be included in the sale. If there's anything excluded in the sale, it's going to be put in section 1B. So let's say a seller loves their mantle or a bathroom mirror and they want to take that with them to their next property, then we would put that in section 1B as that being excluded from the sale. Section 1C is going to be anything that's included in the sale. So if they are leaving behind the appliances, fridge, stove, microwave, dishwasher, washer, dryer, we would check these things and mark anything that's going to be included with the sale. If there's anything that you specifically want excluded from the sale, or let's say the seller noted it like a hot tub, you want that removed, you don't want it with the property, or there's a swing set in the backyard and you don't want that, you want to make sure that that's excluded from the sale and they either remove it or take it with them, we would write that in section 1D. Section 2 is going to be the price that you are offering and the price that you agree to purchase the property for. So we would put that in section 2. You're going to sign, or you're going to initial on the bottom of every page and then sign the final page. Section 2A is going to be contingency. So if you have to sell your home before you can buy your next home, then we would mark this offer is contingent upon you closing on the sale of your home, or if you still need to sell a home and close on it, we would mark this and have to do a 72-hour contingency addendum. If you do not have to sell a home in order to purchase your new home, then we would mark it is not contingent. Number 3 is going to be your method of payment. So this is how you are purchasing the property. Option for cash sale, option for land contract, and then most popular is going to be 3B, a cash sale with a new mortgage. What I would need is the type of mortgage that you have been pre-approved for. So conventional, FHA, VA, rural development, whatever that is, we need to put that in there on the type of mortgage that you are going to be taking out. We will need to know how much you'll be paying down. Is it 3%, 5%, 10%, 20%, whatever that number is? We put that right here in the contract, and then how much you'll be financing. So if you put 5% down, you'd be financing 95% of that purchase price. We also have to go through and put how many days you're going to apply for that mortgage, formally apply for it. Typically, it's the same number of days as your inspection. So anywhere from like 3 to 7 days is what we would typically put in this section right here. And then this says you're going to cooperate in getting all information to your lender and that you are going to provide a satisfactory mortgage, and you're going to be ready to close, being approved for that mortgage within X number of calendar days. So depends on your loan type and it depends on your lender. We could put 30 days here. We might have to put 45 days. So that's something that I would talk to your lender about and make sure that we have enough days listed in here. But typically anywhere from 30 to 45 days, depending on the loan type. The next section is section 4. It's going to be your earnest money deposit. So this is your good faith deposit. You will deposit these funds with my brokerage. My brokerage will hold it and it will be applied towards your your closing costs and when we go to close on the property. So typically anywhere from 2 to 3% of the purchase price is normal. Let's say you're going to put $5,000 down. We would put that in here, put that you are going to submit $5,000 to my brokerage upon acceptance of this agreement. I sign and date that we receive that once we do receive that. And typically it needs to be within about 24 hours. Number 5 is seller's concessions. If you are requesting concessions in advance, let's say for things that need to be taken care of, like new floors, or perhaps your lender has told you that you need concessions, which is basically monies to help with your closing costs because perhaps you don't have enough cash on hand. We would put that in here in section 5. Section 6 is going to be the appraisal. If you are taking out a mortgage, typically the offer will be contingent upon satisfactory appraisal. And what that is your lender is going to send out an appraiser to the property and make sure that it is valued, in their opinion, at or above the price that you are offering. So they want to make sure the lender and the bank do that you are not purchasing a home for $500,000 that's only worth $400,000. If for some reason their appraisal comes in below purchase price, then typically I put 3 days in this section, and we would have 3 days to renegotiate with the seller or back out of the deal if we can't come to terms. Number 7 is going to be home protection plans. You can either request that the seller pay for it, you can pay for it yourself, or you can mark that no, you're waiving the home warranty plan option. Number 8 is Foreign Investment in Real Property Tax Act. If you are a foreign investor outside of the U.S., that will come into play, and we would talk about that at that point. Number 9 is choice of title company. We have in-house title at First Premier Title. I work with several other title companies. I typically mark to be determined and have that discussion with you once that offer is accepted. But if you have a specific title company that you want to work with, we can put that and select that option. Number 10 is commissions due. So typically the seller will cover a majority of my commission. If for some reason they were offering a lower percentage than what we had agreed upon, then you would have a set fee that would be compensated in this section. Number 11 is going to be electronic communication. It is saying that you and the sellers agree that electronic signatures are valid versus a pen wet signature. Number 12 is going to be closing. It's going to say that all conditions are going to be ready to close on or before X date, and we would typically again put this as a date that's about 30 to 45 days out from our offer. That way we're making sure that your mortgage is ready to go, and you will need to again close on or before that date. Number 13 is possession. So if the seller needs to stay in their home after closing, then we would mark that they would turn over the keys to you by, let's say, 4 o'clock, 30 calendar days, or whatever it's determined after closing. If they don't need occupancy and to stay in the house after closing, then we would mark at closing, and you would get those keys at the closing table. You can charge the seller an amount per day, perhaps to cover your mortgage. You can also put 0 in here if you decide that you want to use that as a negotiating term, and perhaps offer them free occupancy. Water and sewer charges. So again, this depends on what the occupancy is. The seller will pay the water and sewer charges up to the date of closing if you're getting keys at the closing table. Or if they have occupancy, it would be marked as possession. The title company will hold $300 and make sure that all water and sewer charges are paid by the time you get your keys. Number 15 is title and evidence survey. So it's saying within 5 business days of this agreement, the seller will order their title work. Number 16 is title objections. So if there's any issues with the title company providing a free and clear title, there's something that comes up, then the purchaser has the right to cancel this agreement, and you can read all the options within there. The seller can try to rectify any title issues, and we can work together to close, or in the end, if a clear title can't be given, then the agreement is declared null and void and you would get your EMD back. Number 17 is tax proration. So all taxes will be prorated to the date of closing. So you would be responsible for any taxes that the seller may have paid up front based on a proration schedule. Number 18 is special assessments. The seller shall pay all public special assessments that may, which are currently due and payable through the date of closing. If there is an assessment that's due after closing, that would be your responsibility as the buyer to take care of that assessment from the city, township, county, whatever it is. Number 19 is a condo homeowners association assessments. Same thing, if there are dues to be paid, the seller would pay any dues up until closing, or any past dues that they owe the association. And then once the closing takes place, then you would be responsible for anything thereafter. Or if the seller is prepaid, let's say it's an annual association fee, you would pay the prorated rate based on the date of closing. Number 20 is maintenance of the property and pre-closing walkthrough. So we can do a walkthrough right before closing, make sure the house is in the same condition it was when you made the offer. And then that the seller will maintain the property in good condition as it was. 21 is utilities. The seller will order final bills and keep their utilities on up until closing, and then you are responsible to make sure that your utilities are turned on at the time of closing or occupancy. 22 is risk of loss. So you can read this in detail, but if there's for some reason a catastrophic event that happens with the property before closing, there it talks about how that would be handled in this situation. Number 23 is closing fees. My broker charges a compliance transaction fee of $295 that will be included with your closing costs and paid out by the title company at closing. Number 24 is seller's disclosure and lead-based paint. You want to thoroughly read through your seller's disclosure that was sent for the property you're making an offer on. You'll also read and look at the lead-based paint if it was built before the time that we stopped using lead-based paint. Number 25 is due diligence. This is the most critical part here. So this can range depending anywhere between typically 4 to 10 days. Depends on the property, depends on how aggressive you want to be in your offer, and it depends upon how quickly you can get in to do an inspection. Your due diligence time frame is critical. This is the time in which you are going to make sure that you are good to go and you want to move forward with the purchase. You will hire a home inspector to go take a look at the property inside and out, review the report, make sure that you are good with everything produced in the report. You have time to go through and contact any school districts, local municipalities in regard to what your taxes would be. You want to do your due diligence and make sure that, hey, listen, I've triple checked everything in regard to the purchase of this property and I am good with all items that I've researched. So typically we mark you does want to conduct due diligence. And again, the dates put in here range anywhere from 3 to 10 days, depending on the property and the offer, how aggressive you want to be. Number 26 is municipal occupancy approval. Some cities, townships require that there be a stamp of approval from the city saying that the home can be sold. They might do municipal inspections. Depends on the city. In this line here, you'll see seller agrees to complete any and all repairs required by the governing municipality to obtain code compliance prior to closing, not to exceed. And then there's option to put in a $sign here. However, if you read the next line, it says buyer agrees to be responsible for the balance. So typically I leave this blank because it says if no amount is indicated in the space above, buyer has the option to declare this agreement void anytime prior to closing. So let's say that the municipality requires $5,000 in repairs, and we only put $1,000 in this section, that means you'd be responsible for $4,000. So typically I leave it blank, and that way we are not putting you in that situation. Number 27 is access to property for inspections, that the seller will allow you access to the property, but it also says that purchaser agrees to pay for any and all necessary repairs if there's any damage done during those inspections. Number 28, if there's any additional addendums that need to be included, well and septic, condo, financing, FHA, VA, etc., we would mark that, and I would go through those forms with you. Number 29, very important, in the event the purchaser fails to fulfill its obligations, the seller may elect to, and then there's various options. They can keep your EMD and not return it. They could take you to court to hold you accountable for fulfilling the agreement and backing out. This is a legal document, so that is an important section to read through. Number 30 is a disclaimer of brokers in the release, saying that we do not bear responsibility for the condition of the property. And you'll want to read that, saying that it waives and releases any claims from the broker's offices, employees, and agents. Number 31 is electronic authority and facsimiles, saying that we can send all these documents electronically. Number 32, time is of the essence, meaning this purchaser and seller understand that no extensions of time limits can be done unless they are agreed to in writing by both parties, and that you want to make sure that you adhere to all timelines in this agreement. Number 33, purchasers accepting the condition of the property as is. So you understand that you are purchasing the home as is. Number 34, if you wanted to put a time limit of giving the seller so many days or hours to respond by, we would put that in here. Number 35 is a blank section in case we needed to add any specific additional terms. Number 36, if the seller counters your offer, they would put a date that you would have to respond by within that. Number 37, this agreement shall bind the executors, administrators, and successors. So if you had a will or an estate, the contract would go through despite you not being able to perform on it, and basically your successors would take over. Number 38, the entire agreement. The entire agreement saying this is the entire agreement between the purchaser and the seller. It's saying that nothing spoken to or prior negotiations or verbal agreements are valid, and that the terms of the agreement will go based on what this exact document says. You would sign in this section saying that you read all this information and you agree to it. If the seller accepts your offer, the seller will sign here saying that they accept your offer as is. And then once we receive that offer signed by the seller back, you would bottom line sign it. So that is the purchase agreement in its entirety. Again, you can read through this carefully when you get it. If you have any questions, you can let me know. The other item that you'll want to go through very carefully is the seller's disclosure. It will tell you to the best of the seller's knowledge what is working, what is not working, what is not available on the property, and what they're maybe not sure of if it's working. The details as far as if there's been any water in the home, when the roof was last put on, when the heating system was last updated, plumbing, electrical, etc. So you'll want to read through the seller's disclosure documents very carefully because you will initial and sign off that you have read and you understand that you got this information up front prior to even the inspection. So that should do it.